Welcome back to TMI Talk with Dr. Mary. This episode is for you if you're feeling stuck in patterns or you're just feeling stuck in life, you're not feeling happy, you feel like there's more, but you're not really sure where to turn. This episode's for you. Today, I brought on Shanel Arimilli. She graduated from the University of California at Berkeley with a bachelor's degree in physiology and received her master's in physical therapy. After years of clinical practice, she climbed the corporate ladder in the hospital management and administration, and also as a director of clinical services before she began her entrepreneurial journey. Her personal story of healing through cancer and its reoccurrences led her to a deeper understanding of the science and spirituality behind our ability to heal and our soul's calling for change. Her signature approach takes people on a journey to heal from the cell to soul by merging quantum physics, neuroscience, human physiology, and psychology to the age-old wisdom of spirituality and consciousness. Shanel's intuitive approach is used to elevate personal lives and businesses, making her a sought-after speaker, workshop and retreat facilitator, a spiritual teacher, and a private mentor. We're excited to have her on the podcast today.
Ready to tackle the topics that you've been curious about but never felt comfortable asking? With a straightforward, no-nonsense perspective on life, blended with candid stories and a healthy dose of humor, Dr. Mary Grimberg cuts through the fluff and addresses the conversations we all need to have on TMI Talk, where no subject is too taboo. Our bodies, our minds, and everything in between. Now here's your host, Dr. Mary.
Welcome to TMI Talk, Shenal.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
Yes, I am so excited for you to be here. This is for you if you're a type A personality and you've done all the things that you thought would make you happy or the world told you would with either money or children or success or whatever it may be, but you're still feeling like there's more. And I wanted to bring you on today to help people because your story is similar to mine in the fact that you were a physical therapist and you are a physical therapist and your cancer journey. So I'd love to dive right in and, can you explain your journey from being a physical therapist to where you are now?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. And I love the topic because I think that many more people than we know are hiding behind a smile. And just hiding behind that smile so we think they're happy. Sometimes we even hide behind our smile so well that we think we're happy, but that's not always the case. So thank you for the great topic. And I'm so happy to be here. So physical therapist to where I am now. I knew that I wanted to be in the healing arts. I think since I was very, very little. I didn't know what that meant. And PT was a really beautiful way, I felt, to pursue that long-term relationship with somebody on their healing journey. I was not interested in those 5-minute doctor visits. Like I really wanted a healing art. So physical therapy is what spoke to me. And like most of us, I don't think life is a straight line. So that journey took me on some twists and turns. So I kind of touched all 3 areas of healthcare. So I was practicing clinically as a PT. And then I fell into the wings of, under the wings of a CEO of a hospital. And he said, I want to groom you into hospital management and administration. So then I started to learn the corporate side of healthcare. So I was a clinician as a PT, then I did corporate healthcare, and then a stay-at-home mom for a little bit. And after that little jaunt of being at home with my 2 kiddos, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so then I became the recipient of healthcare. So I've had touched, again, the administrative side, the clinical side, and then the receiving side of it. And that cancer journey, Mary, truly is what led me to where I'm at right now. And just before we hopped on, you and I were chit-chatting, and I shared that I've come to learn, and I hope that anyone that's listening, even in the darkest of moments or the most difficult of times, might hear that there's a glimmer of hope when you can start seeing the challenge as the gift, that if you're willing to open it and really do the inner work around it, your whole life can change for the better. So that cancer journey, and then the 11 years it took me to heal with a few recurrences, is what led me to doing mind, body, soul healing work, and doing what I do now.
I love that. And, I'd watched some of your story on, was it Speak Up on Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how you were saying that, just, yeah, the multiple occurrences. And it wasn't until you really started going inward to be like, what am I not healing? I mean, maybe you didn't say it exactly like that, but it was like, okay, we can do all these things and do Western medicine can be extremely helpful, but at the same time, what else can we do? Like what else helps us heal? And I think so much in medicine is less about emotions, less about intuition, and more about here's a pill, here's your 5-minute visit, and move forward, right?
That's right.
And then that dynamic shifts when you're on the other side. It is a humbling experience. And it, like you said, it was perfect. What you were saying is like, it's a little gift. Like if you're going through something right now and you're like, man, I don't know how to deal with this. I have
Mhm.
never been presented with this before. I don't know. I don't have any experience in this. Nobody around me knows. I challenge you to lean into it because, being on the other side of extreme despair, and I'm not saying I'm like at some perfect level, right? There's no ending in this healing process, in my opinion.
Mm.
Challenge yourself and lean into it. And so, what would you say to somebody right now that's listening to this and they're like, I'm doing all the things, and a lot of times, I treat a lot of people that tend to be type A, and they're experiencing extreme pelvic pain, and they're not getting answers, and they're just not getting answers. Like,
Mhm.
what would you say to somebody right now, whether it's pelvic pain or some other illness or cancer? What would you say to them?
Um, I think that the thing that I had to begin shifting myself first is my relationship with what that pain was about. So I saw the pain, or I saw the cancer, as a failing body, that my body is failing me. And whether it's pelvic pain, or it's migraines, or it's allergies, or it's cancer, the whole spectrum of stuff, if we have the ability to pause and change our relationship with whatever that pain point is, and we start asking or understanding, is the body actually failing?
Mm.
Or actually, is the body so magnificent that it's messaging me? And if it's messaging me, then rather than running to fix it, I begin to have a relationship with it. I begin to listen to it. I begin to ask. So I will tell people when I'm working with them and we're working on healing, it could be a joint pain. Like, sometimes I'll be with a client and they'll have a joint pain, and we'll go into the pain. We'll go into what is that about? Where is it coming from? And I'll ask them to put a microphone in that pain, or in that discomfort, or in the imbalance. It could be a hormonal imbalance that someone's experiencing. Put a microphone in it, like, intentionally, just by saying, you know what? I'm putting a
Theoretically.
microphone, I'm putting something in that joint or in that pain, because I want to hear what you're teaching me. I want to hear what you're trying to tell me is out of balance, not just in my body, but in my soul, in my consciousness. And so when I get to listen to that rather than see my body as failing, I've already shifted the energy. I've already put myself at an advantage to healing, because the energy of what's wrong with my body will continue to bring forth, through the law of resonance, things that are wrong with it. versus
Totally. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
no, just a new relationship with the body and
Oh, yeah.
how we see it and how we begin to work with it and with our mind. And so yes, I think that that is a crucial first step in any challenge. It can be a challenge outside of our body, right, Mary? Because sometimes before the challenge actually hits our body, it's already been showing itself in our relationship with somebody. It's been showing itself in our bank account. It's been showing itself, you know, just in our unrest. And then when we don't listen, that message gets a little bit louder and a little bit louder, and it starts to impact the densest part of our being, which is our body. So, yeah.
No, I totally agree. I think I was, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was doing all the things like purging all of the, toxic chemicals in the house and, diet, like trying to clean up my diet consistently and then exercise. But what I didn't realize is I was in such disconnection from myself and my body, that my body literally had to give me cancer to wake up. And if you're listening to this and you're like, thinking, wow, that's a different way to look at cancer. I'm 5 years out. So like there was a lot of anger at first. There was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of blame. How could my body fail me? How could it do this? I don't understand. And when you can just picture the narrative a little bit different. Not saying your physical symptoms aren't real, they're real. You might need PT for them, right? But what else, right? The mind, body, and soul. Like what are of those are disconnected, right? So how can we kind of play with each of those to look at healing, not just from a physical perspective?
Yes. Oh gosh, Mary. I think you bring up such an incredible point for people to really understand that when we're bringing these concepts up, we're not saying that we're dismissing the physical aspect of our healing. What we're saying is when we really want to create lasting, permanent changes, really truly healing deeply, whether again, it's migraines or it's pelvic pain or it's a joint pain or it's cancer. I think both of us have experienced through our journey, and I think we could safely say this in different ways, but similar story. Like I did everything physical to heal, everything, because I
Yep.
knew the body. Being, a PT, I understood the body. I understood everything about it. So I thought, and I was so clean physically, like cleaner than probably cleaner than 99% of the population on the planet, from juicing and detoxing and eating clean, and I still had cancer. And that's what pushed me to say, what else? And that's what led to the spiritual. And so what happened, and I would want people to understand this as well from my own experience, I did everything physical, but I didn't heal. And I got so distraught, I did the medical stuff, the integrative stuff, the natural stuff, so distraught that I leaned completely into the spiritual. And I still struggled to complete my healing. But what I found was when we learn how to integrate that physical with the spiritual, how does our mind influence our body? How does our body message us so that we can shift things in our mind? When we integrate the parts of us, like you said, you were disconnected. Like most of us have been walking around disconnected from our heart and our soul. And then we expect to be healthy in our body. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. This is why
Doesn't.
we're at an all-time high of mental illness, physical illness, cancers. I mean, you see young people getting cancer left and right now. And I mean, if you see even just the social pressure of being young in this culture, like people can't buy homes anymore. Their, inflation keeps getting wild. And so that's just the external, that's environmental too, and then, working all these hours to just make it by. And so then there's no time to be with yourself. And I would say like, you know, because there was a time where I was like, I don't know what that means to be connected to my body. And I will say, and love to hear your definition of what it feels like this for you. When you are in your body, okay, it feels like time does not exist. it feels to me like life is almost too you just feel in your element. You feel like it you feel like yourself. You feel like you're able to tap into things that you've loved as it maybe even as a kid or something like that. And you feel like time flies when you're in those moments. And I don't know if I'm even describing that super well, but like what would if somebody's like, what does that mean? Because the general people that are listening to this, maybe they're new to their spiritual journey or they don't know and they're curious. Um, what would you describe that to somebody that maybe doesn't know what that means?
That's such a great question. I tend to be very um, in my emotions, my thoughts. I'm very flighty, if you will, from by nature. Like etheric. I'm a dreamer. I'm a visionary. So being in the body and really knowing what that feels like was probably, like you said, it was originally a very unfamiliar feeling for me. As you were speaking, kind of the image that popped in, maybe that could help the listeners from a different perspective would be, it's very much when we're looking at being in the body, we're really grounding a very expansive part of us into a, a physical experience. And it's like a tree. I think of the tree that if you just disconnected the trunk of the tree from the beautiful leaves at the top and the roots at the bottom, neither is going to thrive. It's not complete. It isn't going to expand and grow. But when your roots are grounded in the earth, when you feel like your body is actually the vessel in which you get to express life, for me, it's that. It's this appreciation for this vehicle or this vessel. I'm not the body. I'm actually my body is just an aspect of who I am that allows me to have this experience here. So for me, it's this appreciation of being able to experience what it is to feel grounded and expansive all at the same time.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say like, it's funny because the more I go down this road, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's in nature everywhere, like trees, the mycelial, what is it? The mycelial network, like the whole, like the mushrooms, the fungi underground, and how like these are things that are just facts, right? And so if you can see that and how nature can almost be a metaphor for us, or it is, and like another thing that I found interesting along this journey, because I like to speak like, because I'm new to this, right? So I've only been tapping into this kind of spiritual, energetic world in the last not even year. And so I like to remember, I write down a lot of these beginner questions because it can be hard for somebody to understand. And you just might check out and be like, I don't know what they're talking about, right?
Mhm.
And, but it's this feeling of like like what are your biggest dreams, like what are things that you have felt, like to people listening, is like that you felt you've always wanted to do but you don't have time for, or who are people you want to hang out with but you can't make time because maybe you're bogged down by other things. What are you bogged down by and what lightens you up? And if you want to put this in a scientific perspective, I mean, we've got tons of evidence on like placebo effect, right? So, hey, maybe somebody responds to this treatment or this medication, but so do the people that were told it was that too. So the mind is incredibly powerful. So say maybe if you don't have spiritual beliefs, I just entertain the idea of it. Like what would that look like?
I would agree. And since you bring that up, I usually want to dismantle because I think that my journey was not about becoming spiritual. My journey was about integrating the spiritual with the physical and really
Yes.
just becoming who we really are. And so I I like to dismantle this concept with people that Spirituality and consciousness, they sound like such lofty things that you should do later when you have more time in life, but they're actually just your practical. So I see spirituality as our relationship with everything. So if
Mhm.
somebody says, well, I don't have time for spiritual stuff, I don't believe in it. And I say, well, if you believe in your relationships with your significant others, if you believe that you have a relationship with your body in whatever ways that is, or money, as you evolve that relationship, you're really just on a spiritual journey. The healthier relationship you have with your body, you're doing spiritual work. The healthier relationship you have with your desires, your wants, your dreams, that's a spiritual journey. So I think it becomes a word that people shy away from. Like, oh, I'm not that. I don't know that. I don't do that. Well, we do it all the time. When we bring the spirit of life into all of our relationships, we're doing spiritual work.
I think, babe, I love that because I think people do think it's like light and fluffy, and like there are people I feel like that can make it sound that way. And ultimately, it's integrating all three things, right? Mind, body, and soul. And so if I do believe that in certain types of communities that focus on certain religions, I do find that it takes away from the spiritual aspect because it's more, I think it just gets a bad rep because of people that have used it for not great things. And there's
Mhm.
still a lot of really wonderful people that practice religion or know religion and spirituality, but I didn't know, like we were saying before, I didn't know there's a difference between religion and spirituality. I thought they were one and the same. So I was like, I've had a very traumatic experience with religion, and I shied away from it. But yeah, I realized so much of like what you're saying is it's our magic and it's our power inside of us. And so when we start to, I find when a lot of people are dealing with like chronic things, and I'm like, what if we started doing things that brought you energy versus taking, like, like where to even start?
Absolutely. Um, and since we were talking about what is it that's keeping us from being happy, right? And then if what is it that if we're dealing with physical issues, we know that that drains us from our happy place, when we're in pain or limited or whatever that may be, it puts us in all kinds of emotional states. When we start to realize that there is a simpler way to look at our consciousness, and how it relates to the healings in our body, when we can simplify it, and I'm all about making it practical and real, and I think you are too. We both really pride ourselves, I feel, in it's like bringing that energy into reality and not some lofty concept or principle that we have to just go learn, but really, how do we live it? So I want to share this, Mary, because I think it's super fun for the listeners. Again, if somebody were to say you could change your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions and actually contribute to the healing of your body, anywhere from, again, migraines and pelvic pain to cancer, wouldn't you want to do that? Like, wouldn't, even if you are taking, so I was taking medicine and I wasn't healing. But when I did the inner work and I began healing my consciousness, which is, I teach it as a cup of tea. So it's an acronym. So acronyms make it easy for us to remember. So we dismantle the complexity of consciousness and we say, what the heck, forget that for a moment. If I could just change my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions, my T, my E, and my A, which is my cup of tea, if I can work on healing those parts of me, past and present, I will begin changing my energy, because each thought, each emotion carries a vibrational frequency. And we don't have to go into all the science about it today, but you and I can testify that there is a large body of research that has been done on, our thoughts and how they influence our human physiology, our emotions and how they influence our structures in our body. And if they impact our body, then we can also use them to heal our body. So changing your cup of tea, looking at your old thoughts, your old emotions, your old actions that you've buried, and then if we're carrying all that with us, how is it that we can be light, free, and happy? It's like it's just carried with it. We carry it on our back and in baggages, and we hold it with us. And if we took the time to realize that any pain in our body is actually just pointing us to a deeper healing, to release, to shift thoughts, emotions, and actions that we've done. We simplify the process of healing, but we actually create, I think, lasting healing because we're healing at the root of
I
what
love
we're.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging these old inner dialogues that we have. So if you think about wearing glasses, right? And if you have these like tinted glasses, everything you see in those glasses are going to be tinted. So the red glasses, everything looks red, right? What if what we're talking about is putting on a new pair of glasses that's not tinted, and you get to see the beauty and the colors and life and all of the things that life has to offer. And yes, the world is crazy right now, but when you can kind of tap in and understand yourself, people around you, your emotions, not understanding people around you, but understanding how different situations and environments can affect you physiologically too. And like how to start just noticing those things. I mean, just notice, like there are like little details that I wouldn't notice before. Is like, why do I get overwhelmed in this situation? Or like for me, as I become more self-expressive, um, I tend to, so after cancer, I kind of shut that down because I had people in my life kind of shitting on me and telling me to stay small. And whenever I'd be silly, they'd be like, stop, you're embarrassing me. And I was just like, man, I had really a good time. So I don't understand what was going on. And as I reflect back, as I move through this healing process, like you can tap into these things and they can feel good, but then old patterns will kind of pop up. And it's almost like when I feel that anxiety, so maybe I'll go somewhere and, like I was telling you, I'm a bit of a ham. And so when my hamminess comes out, I get anxiety later and I go, oh, I embarrassed myself. And then I have to go, that's an old narrative that somebody else told me. Who is that voice? What is that? Because that does not define me. And I think the hard work is more of just like reprogramming your brain to being softer to yourself and kinder, and then recognizing old patterns and being kind to yourself. Like, what if healing wasn't hard work? What if it was hard just because you just of the practice, but not hard because it's draining?
Oh, um, I have to say, I love this. I love that because I think people do shy away from the inner work because they think that it's really hard. And I'll share a quote that I like. It's far more painful to remain stuck than it is to do the work to get unstuck, if we would just be willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, oh, I'll just stay in this comfort zone and stay stuck in this pattern and it'll never change. And it can, because energy can change and we're all energy. You were talking about patterns, and I think that it's so vital because I didn't heal because I worked on one emotion. I didn't heal because I changed one thought. Like I didn't just do positive thinking. I tried that.
Mm-mm,
That didn't work.
it
I
doesn't.
did positive affirmations for years and I was like, I had recurrences. Like, what is this? So what I realized is that we don't just dump, well, I'm going to say this, who puts seeds of flowers in a bed of weeds? Like, who would really plant seeds of flowers, which are like positive affirmations? Because I see a lot of people that will say, well, I've been doing this positive thinking for a long time. It doesn't work. I said, no, it really doesn't. It's really
Doesn't.
important. It's very important, but not when you put it on top of all the weeds that exist within you. And so when we dismantle a pattern, which you were talking about, it's the pattern that has to heal, not just the emotion, not just the thought, not just the trauma. it's the patterns that created those that I think are important. And so how do we get to a pattern? I think is a really great conversation you and I could get into, because I claim that I was addicted, and people look and, oh my God, you took drugs, or but I was addicted to perfectionism and people pleasing as if they
Oh,
were drugs for
right
me.
here.
And so true for so many women,
So
so true
many.
for so many, but perfectionism and people pleasing. And I couldn't just heal my emotions to be able to heal who I am. I truly had to dismantle this whole story of perfectionism and people pleasing. Those are just two of my patterns, but there were many. Um, and I had to understand, so I would hope people would get to take this home with them today, is if you have a pattern, ask, where did that pattern come from? Did I see it growing up? And if I did, I need to lovingly release that pattern back to the person that I know learned it from, because it's not mine to carry. Or was I told to do it so that I could be a good girl? And did I so who did I learn it from, or was it modeled for me? See, we have to start, like, and I use journaling. I don't know about you, Mary. I'd love to
Oh,
hear what you do, but
I love it. Yeah.
I journal to get out of the mind, because it gets so complex in there and in the heart. Everything's a muddled mess until you start, like, writing, and it just starts to get clear. Like the lenses go from, a tinted to clear as you start to write. But to write, answer those questions, like, where did I learn this pattern? Was it modeled? Was I told to do it? Like, you should be this way. You have to be perfect. If you're perfect, then you're going to get a treat. Or if you're perfect, then grandma is going to buy you, whatever. Or, or it looks good. Indian girls, in my case, Indian girls were very nice. We don't get angry. So where did we learn these patterns? Who did we learn them from? And then the third thing that I love asking myself is, how did it help me, or what need did it get met for me? So for example, being perfect made me feel worthy. It made me feel good. So you have to use a process of compassionate inquiry to dismantle the pattern. So for our listeners, it would be fun to be able to encourage people to look at their patterns, to see them without judgment, and to know that they became survival stories. But those survival stories build up so much toxicity in us and keep us from our true self. And then we have pain in our bodies, pain in our lives, pain in our minds. But yes, really dismantling the story and choosing a new story. Now, right? We can either rewrite or repeat, and the choice is always ours.
Well, I think the biggest thing is so many people, including myself, will be like, well, if my parents just did this or my parents did that. And it's like, I can guarantee if you talk to most people, they've had some childhood trauma at some extent, right? Some really big traumas, some patterns, right? And so that's when these like generational kind of patterns kind of kick in. It's trauma is, you can have two children that are exposed to the same thing, and one has the complex or PTSD and the other one doesn't, and it's how they interpret it, the trauma that happened. And so, not discounting trauma, I've dealt with complex PTSD and moved through it because I've been through a lot. But my narrative, I was choosing to suffer. Suffering was a choice for me. And if I stopped suffering and said, okay, what if I want to stop this? Okay, enough with the bitching, enough with the complaining.
Mhm.
Like, what can I do? Where can I go? And if somebody is like wanting to get a journal now, listening to this, what are a couple prompts you would give them to start? Because I know when I started journaling, I was like, what? It's blank. What do I do? Where do I
Yeah.
go?
So, that's a great question, Mary. Um, and there's different types of journaling, right? We can have gratitude journaling. That's beautiful. This is more of like maybe the journaling to help us to better dismantle or heal something deeply, right? So the first question I usually would ask is, what am I feeling? Unapologetically, it could be hate. And let me tell you, women, I know in cancer, unforgiveness, resentment, hate, and it's not because we're bad people. It's because we are so good that we bury everything that wasn't so good, because we got good at that. We got good at being good on the outside and stuffing it all in the inside. So I think one of the first prompt questions is just, what do I really feel right now? Am I angry? Am I resentful? Am I sad? What is that feeling? And so connecting first with a feeling. Well, we never have a feeling without a thought. So let's say anger is a feeling. I'm feeling so angry right now. So then we ask the next question. I wonder why I'm so angry. And then when we ask, I wonder why I'm so angry, we're going a little deeper to come to the thoughts and the programs and the patterns that are driving that anger. And so then we might recognize, wow, I'm really angry because I'm not being heard. Or I'm really angry because there's no time for me. And so if we understand why I'm angry, we think it's maybe about, it's because my kids were being loud, or my husband wasn't listening, or my mom, whatever. But when we really get to it, we're like, why am I really angry? Well, it's because, there's no time for me.
Mm.
And if there's no time for me, then we go to another question and we say, I wonder where that pattern came from, where there's no time for me. And that might lead us to, oh my God, I had to be the overachiever. And in your case, so that I could be seen, so that I could be acknowledged. And so we start to ask questions, but we go in, I feel, the first is usually, how am I feeling? Because women are also not very good. We feel, but we don't often feel our true feelings.
Well,
Like,
we were told like women are crazy, like, oh, she's probably menstruating, or she's menopausal, or she's pregnant. And so then you're just like, well, I don't want to be labeled as that. So I'm just gonna not, or a nag. Oh,
oh,
nagging. I'm
or too
like,
sensitive. Oh, she's so sensitive.
oh, she's so sensitive. She must be on her period.
Yeah, right. You're like,
These are
nope,
subconscious things we absorb. And, and like
exactly.
it, and it's different in every culture, but it's the same theme.
Absolutely. And I would really encourage people not to stop at the emotion. That whole TEA. So it's
Mhm.
like, and so what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And how does that make me act or not act? Like, and those are how we really change our whole narrative over time. Over time, oh my goodness, over time. But what am I feeling? I wonder why I feel this way. What are all the reasons that make me feel this anger? I don't get enough help. There's no time for me. Well, wait a minute, there's the program. We should not ask for help. We're capable.
We can
And
do it all, superwoman, right?
right? Absolutely. Because, especially the women of the new millennium, we can do everything.
It's
We,
crushing us. Yeah.
Mhm. And so if we don't pause, and I think our challenges push us to pause, and the pause allows us to heal more deeply. So, yeah, it's so profound, even when we both just sit and talk about it, just how deeply healing this is. If people would only realize that while, yes, you can go to the doctor, yes, you go to your therapy, yes, you do the physical and you honor this body, but you don't stop there.
It's all connected. And that's, you know, I think it's important, like when you're journaling and being like, okay, like what is this emotion? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling so angry? And I find that type A perfectionist like myself and, and people pleaser, I don't want to be a burden on anybody else because I have learned in the past that me asking for help around certain people that I am a drag, but around people who do this work,
Mm.
they honor it and they say, thank you for telling me. I mean, maybe they don't say it like that, but they're just like, oh, cool. All right, well, you're tired, or like maybe you want to reschedule, or thank you for telling me that you were upset about that. I didn't mean it that way. It's like, oh, I'm not going to get yelled at. Nobody's going to get angry at me.
Mhm.
And it was hard because I was surrounded by a lot of people that were like that. And part of this growth is grieving the outgrowing of those behaviors and those types of people that have the ability to make the change, but unwilling.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can start understanding and asking for help, I mean, say, sometimes we don't have a supportive partner, but say you do. Okay. Say you have supportive friends, or you have one friend. All you need is one person in your life, like just one. And in that, how can like how can you ask that person for help? Even if it's just tiny, right? So say if it's your partner, like I do have a lot of patients who do have supportive partners, and they're like, I'm like, are you asking them for help? And they say, I don't want to. I don't want to be a burden. I go, the healing's there. We
Mhm.
don't heal in isolation.
Mhm.
We heal in community. And that's my biggest next phase of this growth is allowing myself to be seen, allowing myself to be myself. And it's a little uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But I know that's where the magic is. And I used to just be isolated. And this hyper independence is just another form of unprocessed inner work.
And how much are we doing and doing and doing and forgetting to be? How much are we doing so that something is being met for us? Maybe it's a sense of self-worth. Like the more I do, the more I'll be loved, the more I'll be seen, the more I'll be heard. If I do more, and if I'm working with people that have an illness of sorts, whether again it's cancer or any sort of pain, we will always dive into how is that meeting a need? And they'll be like, well, I don't want cancer. And I was like, no, I know, I didn't either. But when I never asked for it consciously, but I didn't realize that I co-created it unconsciously. And they'll be like, what do you mean? I said, I co-created it unconsciously because what I really needed was peace in my life. What I really wanted was to get help, but I didn't know how to ask. What I really wanted was rest, but I was a busy mom with two children and a business and a husband that had needs and family and siblings, and I needed rest. I needed help. I needed to be loved, attended to, because I was the nurturer. So of course it was a breast cancer. I was like over nurturing everybody around me and completely neglecting myself. Every pain in our body, and I will literally put myself out on a limb with this. Every pain in our body is a pain somewhere else in our life first. In our heart, in our emotions, somewhere in our life. It's a pain unprocessed that the body is finally bringing up to the surface because it knows we're ready. And it's not here to take us down. It's here to lift us up. It's really, truly here to help us to heal at such deep levels and to touch our greatness and our magnificence in it. And I think we can speak of this, Mary, because we both lived it
It was scary.
and
Scariest
scary.
time of my life, not knowing if you're going to live or die. How old were you when you had breast cancer?
42,
Yeah. I mean, I was 33. We're young.
young.
And nobody around me had had cancer that I knew that was under 70 or 65. And not saying that those cancers are, when you get older, right? Like you're exposed to more things and more things happen. It's still horrible when you get cancer, but when you're 33, like there's a bunch of things. I'm still working. I'm running a business. I'm in a marriage that it's just not working. And my family doesn't understand me anymore. What I knew before isn't resonating. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I just isolated and kind of felt sorry for myself for a bit. And then over time, just made like little strides. But I mean, I'll never forget the moment when it was like, so I found the lump above my right collarbone. It was like a golf ball sized tumor. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I'll never forget because I got my scans missed the original cancer, which is insane. I don't know how that even happened. But so I had to have them relook at the scans. And they were like, oh my God, we got to get tested. Like, we got to get this out. And I was like, oh, I had to go to a second doctor to get this checked out. And I remember she started freaking out, not freaking out, but like, she's kind of a chill doctor. And when you see her kind of moving fast, you're like, ooh, 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 ah. I don't like
Yeah.
this. Tell me I'm over exaggerating.
This feels kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
Like,
And she's like, let's do full chest CT, full, like pretty much everything except for legs, right? Because lymphoma doesn't necessarily show up in your feet or thighs or anything. But anyways, and I remember thinking, I was in the Whole Foods parking lot in Cedar Park, and I go, holy shit, am I dying? Oh my God. It's not finding out for me. It wasn't finding out that I had cancer. It was, am I dying? I have so much more to do that I haven't done. And then the day I got chemo, I swore to myself, I'm going to make some changes. But right now I got to sit in this and deal with it.
Yeah. It's so, at so many levels, it's so much to go through. And it doesn't have to be cancer. It could be anything that pushes us to pause. But I know I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful for the courage. And I'm so grateful that you tapped into your courage and your will. And the beauty of this is every one of us has this. Even when we feel like there's no way out, we have it. We have it in us. In our darkest moments, that light can come in. Absolutely.
That's where the beauty's at. I've never felt like now when something big comes up that would have like, I've had to deal, like I was explaining to you, we're having kind of last minute move offices, and that would have been, it was stressful. But like the next day after I found out we were going to have to move, I found a beautiful spot, a wonderful landlord, like all this stuff. And I was like, I don't have control. I do not have control over this situation. But what I do have control over are my thoughts. And my thoughts will say, everything that has seemed bad in the moment has been a gift later on. And so it's come to play every single time. So why don't I trust this? It takes some time, I think, to see it, but why don't I trust that there's a greater plan that I don't see? And I saw this image on Instagram and I thought it was funny. It was like, when the universe has other plans for you, and it's like somebody shooting an arrow and it's like they're shooting it towards a target, but it completely misses the target. But what you don't see is that it goes to the next screen and it hits another target. And I loved that.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Because I feel like the way that I would describe this process would almost be like you take a leap because you're forced to, and you're in the air and you haven't hit landing, but you're just in the air. And it's so unsettling. And you're just like, okay. And then you start getting some grounding. Then things start kind of normalizing and things like that. But I would hope, and, like, I don't want people to have to get to this point to make the change. And so I'm hoping, like, by us talking and just getting people to start to notice, maybe it's more unhappiness than it is illness or
Mhm.
pain or cancer. And I don't want it to get to the point where I don't want anyone to have to go through the treatment that I went through and lose their hair and eyelashes and, and have people feel sorry for you. I don't want anyone to have to go through that, but unfortunately, pain is one of the biggest motivators of change.
Yeah, it is.
And it's maybe the pain is the unhappiness. Maybe it's the hamster wheel. Maybe it's the golden handcuffs because you're worried you'll never make the kind of money that you're making, but you are miserable at this job,
Mhm.
you know?
It's this topic that you chose to talk about today. Um, while it sounds like, oh, what is this about not feeling happy? It's such a actual deep topic, because we know that this unhappiness leads to a very limited life. Not only are we unhappy, but we may be unhealthy as a result of the unhappy. But we also live very limited. We don't actually tap into what we're really capable of experiencing in this life if we don't allow ourselves to heal the parts of us that are staying stuck in the unhappy. And I feel like, I don't know that there's an answer, Mary, but I'm curious what you would say. I feel like the greatest unhappiness comes because we're really not living our story.
Oh, yeah. I
And like,
mean,
what does that mean, right? We're not living our story. I mean, are we living the story that our parents wanted of us, or that society wants of us? Or are we living a story so that we will be seen as worthy? Are we living what story? And if we can heal that story, we will find on the other side of it our happy story. And
well,
it's not far away. That's the
it's
amazing.
not.
It's not. It's
It's
here.
not. It's really not. I would say, like, we don't use our imagination as adults like we did as children. And dream big. Like, we dream in abundance. What does abundance look like? Sure, financial abundance, great. Like, that's a cherry on top. But what about abundance of love, kindness, friendship, relationships, health, right? We only
Peace
think
of
of one
mind.
form of currency, and that's financial. But, you know, there, what does that look like? And even if you don't think it could actually happen, just dream it, think it. What would that
Absolutely.
person do? How would she think? How would she act? How would she dress? I'm in
Absolutely.
this phase of, like, so if we think about it, right? Think about all the programming that has happened to us. Like, from such a young age, I remember seeing these little skinny white Barbie dolls, right? And they weren't representative of any other culture or body type. It was blonde. It was Malibu Barbie and Ken. And that's the first thing I remember about being a woman, was like, oh, I got to have a body like this. Okay.
Mm.
Ooh, women have to diet. Women have to diet. They have to be skinny to be attractive. Nobody's going to love you if you're fat. Oh, okay. Now you're too skinny. All right. You're too dominating. You're
Mhm.
not dominating enough. We sit in chairs that weren't made for us. The stairs that we use were built for men. The society that we live in and the culture that we live in keeps sending us messages that we're not enough. Literally not enough. I mean, the Victoria's Secret documentary made me so angry, realizing it was one man behind the Victoria's Secret movement and profited billions of dollars, or whatever, millions or whatever, on inadequacies of women and their bodies. And come on, nobody's body looks like that. I mean, even those women in the documentary, they were going home crying, like in the bathtub, because they were just starving.
Oh,
We are
oh,
literally starving ourselves to be loved. And so, and then we have to dye our hair a certain color. Like, don't be gray. We don't want to be gray. And hey, that's fine if you want to dye. Like, I'm all about it, but do it for Don't
You.
do it for you, right?
Yeah.
Do it for you, not because of I need to look a certain way. I stopped dyeing my hair. I was dyeing it blonde and I go, why did I start dyeing my hair blonde? And I remember, oh my God, it was because I remember when I was 14, blondes are hotter. Literally.
Oh,
I've
oh
been
yeah. Oh,
dyeing my
blondes have all
hair.
the fun.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm going to have to change that story.
It's
Well,
these
and
little
it
things.
is. They
And
get stuck. They get stuck as mistruths. But
clothing. I mean, everybody
mm,
looks the same in the same clothes. The Lululemons. Hey, I have Lululemon stuff. I'm not crapping on that. I'm just like, what would it look like if we had our own style, right? And we didn't have to keep up with the trends or the Joneses. That's where the fun is, going
yeah,
against the grain.
I think when we come into our own power, our own sense of self, and it's a journey. You and we know this, it's a journey. And so, no matter where anyone is in this moment, all we have to do is take one baby step forward. I mean, just one. And if that means saying something that we haven't said to somebody, if it means asking for help, if it means looking at our emotions with love, rather than judging, or there's just one thing we can do today, just one thing that would benefit our relationship with ourself, it is so worth it.
Oh, 1,000%. Just see how you feel after it. Just notice, like, do you feel light? Do you feel happy? Do you feel like, right? Those are the
Mhm. Oh,
that we
I
want.
know.
Women, we just want to be held so much, but resist it because that's what we're told to do.
Yeah.
But in summary, what I would say, what we've been talking about is start looking at the mind, your body, and your soul. What things in your life do you feel you're not being true to? Like, where do you feel you're just doing things to do them? What are the things that drain you, right? What are the things that excite you?
Mhm.
And allow yourself to daydream, because that's when you can start doing that, then you start thinking about it more, then it starts becoming more reality,
Yeah.
and how all of these things can affect your physical health. And then, like you were saying, we're not saying don't look at the physical. Yes, you have to look at the physical. Like if you have back pain, go
Look at
get
the
treat,
body.
come to
Look at
PT. But where and you're with low back pain often is where you're not supported in your life. And how can you add more stability there?
Yeah.
And so, how can people reach you? Or your Instagram and your website, if you could let people know so they can learn more about you and any services that you would like to explain to them that you
Oh,
offer.
yeah. Well, thank you, Mary. If I would say if anyone is stuck in patterns and they are struggling to get to the root of what's keeping them there and how it's impacting their body, their relationships, their money story, basically ready to get unstuck, just go to my website. It's my name, Shanel, at shanelarimilli.com. That's a mouthful. But there's not too many Shanel Arimillis around there. So
We'll put it
you'll
in
put it
the
in there.
description. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get there from there. You can email me, um, and that's also on the website. And I'm happy to hop on a call if anyone just wants to understand a little bit more about what they're capable of achieving. All things are possible. We live in a very, very powerful time in existence right now, and we are all being pushed to awaken to that power that lies within us. And so, yeah, you can reach me. I do private work, I do workshops, I have free material also for people who may just want to explore free stuff. There's a free ebook on my website. There's a Create Your Reality Academy. I can also send you that link, Mary, and there's some free guided meditations and master classes on consciousness and healing and things like that. So
Thank you so much, Shanel.
Yeah.
It's so great talking with you. And I really hope you all get a lot out of this, because two cancer survivors and physical therapists that were pushed to awaken because of physical pain and illness. I mean, when I heard your story, I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh my
this
gosh.
is so cool.
It's, yeah. And then here we are. I mean, just wanting to help people to really heal at very, very deep levels. Wanting to know that things are possible even when they seem impossible, and really
Keep
just
going.
inspiring hope to, yeah, to keep going, to
If
keep
this
going.
gives you 1 ounce of hope,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to TMI Talk with your host, Dr. Mary Grimberg. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Dr. Mary, head on over to drmarygrimberg.com. And make sure to follow Dr. Mary at Dr. Mary PT on all social channels. To learn more about Dr. Mary's integrative practice for pain relief in Austin, Texas, head on over to resilient-rx.com. Thanks for listening.